Hello, this is Reporters. I'll look at the very best from our correspondents from all around the world. In this edition, a shocking insight into the horror of the conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now listen to these words. We raped and destroyed everything in our path, killing women and children after cruelly sexually abusing them. These are the words and actions of not the rebels, but a soldier of the National Army. His victims, the very people he's supposed to protect. Our film shows his sick actions and the damage they cause are actually widespread. Our reports by Fiona Lloyd-Davis in Minova in the Kivu province of the DRC.
In Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, government soldiers are getting ready for morning prayers. In his sermon, the chaplain asked the troops to think about their actions in missions to come.
Implication morale et spirituelle. Haiko armée aba voler, haiko armée aba tubana pratiquer ma violence sexuelle.
He asked them to defend the weak and protect the innocent in a region that's been torn apart by endless fighting over the years.
Nous n'avons pas droit de nous attaquer contre la population civile. Nous ne pouvons pas les violer. Nous ne pouvons pas voler leurs biens. Nous ne pouvons pas les chercher à les tracasser. Donc, nous sommes là pour protéger cette même population et leurs biens, malgré la situation difficile des opérations.
But perhaps the sermon comes a little too late. Many here are already suspected of committing the crimes that the clergyman has warned against. In November 2012, M23 rebels attacked the town of Goma, forcing the Congolese army to retreat. They found refuge 50 kilometers away in Minova, a thriving market town that had so far escaped reasonably unscathed from the fighting. But in this part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, nobody escapes war for very long. This centre provides sanctuary and support for survivors. There are many children here, often born from rape, who have been rejected by their families.
Ikakuwa siku moja tarehe 22 mwezi wa 11 tukaona waaskari wengi wanakuja na mashar de combat, babibi ya basoda walikuwa wanapita sana mbarabara, biko wanasema mkimbie sana, mkimbie. M23 imeingia na imefika Minova, wako wanaua wamama na kubaka wamama.
But it wasn't the M23 rebels. It was soldiers from the retreating Congolese army. They were smarting with anger and humiliation after being ordered to withdraw from their positions, a decision which left their wives and children and their hometown of Goma at the mercy of the rebels.
Nkomaki awa na Minova neti ngai nakomaki na kompani na ngai na 16h30 soda azogo replier.
Bo moral na bango ezalaki ya kolemba puisque bazaki batu moko bayebaki te soki bakobima na ba position.
Sio tulisha kuwa kama huko kote barisha haribisha bale bakubwa mweri traizo yabo, na sisi tukakuwa sasa kichwa ikaharibika, hatuna tena mawazo kama mtu.
Plus de 2000 militaires bazalaki à Dembadante, incontrôlés, sans commandement.
As night fell, the situation grew worse.
Hatuna tena sipa, kichwa ikaharibika, hatuna tena mawazo kama mtu. Kwa magharibi tulifika ukiraro hapa, wanaita kama wapi, kuka kiraro hapa kutoka hapa hivi. Haikuwa kusema sema bo utajua kama unakamata. Kwa hiyo siku ilikuwa kama ni kidogo, walipaswa kuwa watatu.
Hapa tulifika hapa, ndio kweli tukafika hapa, tukakutana wanamuke, juu mwanamke ajue kimbii, kumukuta unamubana, munaingia na quelque part, mnafaa betafanya na sama moto muua. Ukisha manza mbaka unamuua mtoto, hakuna tena kuhesabia miaka, nikamata tukatoto atakapata hivi tunakabaka kisha tunajende. Maana tukafaa bakaji kiolele.
tunashituka tu hivi basoda banakuya. Habakutungoesha. Bananza tupiga, banatupiga. Batatu bawili balipitaka huku kunjia bwanamuke. Na umoya akasema yeye hatapita mu buchafu ya benzake. Akaingiza humu njoo kenda nikokotea chini kitofu nikasikia mimi nataka kufa.
Throughout the town and surrounding villages, the soldiers were in a frenzy.
Tunakutana watu, tunaua tu kiolela, kuchinja watu, wengine tunaniga, wengine tunabaka, vitu kuharibisha, mabotike tunaharibisha, na hivi vitu tukarusha mbaya sana. Bon, ndio tukasikia seme kuko makubaliano tutoki. Tukatoka.
The officers do not control their troops, they do not make efforts to discipline their troops or to give orders to their troops not to carry out abuses against the civilian population. They do not intervene to stop the rapes, to stop the looting.
Some soldiers say they were even ordered by their commanding officers to commit atrocities.
Komanda kishasema sini kusema avzordre. Na yeye ndo alianza. Tuliona kati anaanza maki ni kawaida. Mwingine ilikuwa ishakuwa mchanganyiko, unasikia kumasasi, unasikia kumasasi, wakati anakamata mwanamke inafika kwa hatua na sasa tumfanyizie ulinzi kusudi wasimupige risasi wakati kuna lala mwanamke.
Kwangu mimi pekee kwa lisabila nilipaka wanamke 53. Bo bale wanamke sisi masevi ya miaka ngapi, lakini kulikuwa kabasika ba miaka 18, banamuke ya miaka 13, 14 na watoto ya miaka 5.
Women in eastern Congo know that they are the most vulnerable to rape when they go to gather food in the fields or the forest. What they never thought would happen was that they would be attacked by groups of their own soldiers in their homes, soldiers who were meant to be protecting them.
Mimi nikaona hakuna interest fulani ndani, nikaona ni kuendelea kuharibisha zamiriti zikanigonga, nasema mimi siwezi nikaendelea mwa hivi ya manyanga. Juu abina interest, abina kitu ya muhimu ya kufanya.
It's estimated that hundreds of thousands of women, children and even men have been raped across the region.
Tulijiuliza shepeke kuroho. Sabili unaweza jiuliza wewe peke. Hii kitendo hapa banatufanzia. Habana banamuke sawa vile shie. Ndio tulijiulizaka. Kama ilikuwa tu yabo ya kuharibisha.
Mimi kwanza kungambo ya piaji iliwazaka kusiju gouvernement haibalipe franka. Ndio maana walikuwa na piele machakula, mbuzi. Maki bangepia katu bila kubaka tungebasamehe vraiment. Tungesema ni njala, krize, yesha wanapie vile. Mais sasa kubaka nasema
qui obéit à son commandement. Amen.
Although the culture of rape and looting is more widespread amongst rebel troops, it has also infected the national armed forces. The integration of untrained and uneducated militiamen into the army has proved disastrous.
Kubaka ni kupatana na raha yenye tulikuwa nayo, mlikuwa maplezire mingi, sasa tuko na baka tunasikia tuko huru.
Perhaps justice could help save the country. Yet in this part of Congo it seems to be as broken down and forgotten as the Minova courthouse.
We have seen no clear improvements in the behavior of troops, and that largely seems because there is complete impunity, and that the commanders most responsible for these horrific abuses that we've documented in eastern Congo are not brought to justice. Instead, they are most often rewarded and given positions and power and wealth.
There have been some trials for rape, but despite convictions, the women who've risked their lives to testify often see the men who raped them walk free.
Mesa ataona tena ule mwenye alifaa vile. Ini semeni kuteni kwa tembea mwingine. Mungu mnasema kama patapatia malipizi wale wenye walifanya vile. Si aonaka wanasema wamepinire mtu mwenye agresere mwenye alifanya kitendo kia ubakaji wala mwenye aliua mtu wa msanctionner, si aonaka. Vraiment huko tuko Kongo haiko.
Kama bana haki inaonekana habezi ongeza tena labda. Niju tu basoda abaogopake.
But there are signs that the tide may be slowly turning. The crimes in Minova may prove to be a test case. Military prosecutors are currently collecting evidence for a trial.
Nous avons aujourd'hui non seulement le droit, mais aussi le devoir de poursuivre ces militaires, de les arrêter et de les déférer devant la juridiction compétente. Il y va non seulement de l'intérêt de nos populations civiles à qui nous devons procurer une sécurité juridique de par nos actions urgentes, mais aussi de l'honneur, même de la justice militaire.
Because the crimes were committed at night, one of the many challenges facing the investigators is that the victims cannot identify their attackers.
Mavendeze utaiwa sura ya nani, lakini siko na sura, simujue, na utajua mwenye kwa nakupiga umumu macho, utaya mwenye kwa na kuingiza kano ya bunduki kwa mkinywa, kisha na mwingine kwa migulu, kisha natoka mwingine anaingia.
However, there is a legal precedent which makes it possible to put commanding officers on trial when it proves impossible to identify individual rapists.
Mimi nazaitika sawa, kwanza wanakia tafuta ule mwali kwa koloneli wangu, bakisha mpata na mimi nizitika kama nilibaka. Lakini kama kumpata mimi sizitika, juu nyuma nilikuwa natutumaka.
If a trial goes ahead, it would send an important signal that there are consequences for committing crimes, and perhaps even an end to impunity. To date, 12 commanders have been suspended from duty. 6 of them are under investigation. A trial has yet to be confirmed.
The filmmaker Fiona Lloyd-Davis joins us now. Fiona, your film gives us a shocking, chilling insight into the horrors suffered by innocent people. What hope is there for these people, for their country?
It's a tough question because the fighting has been going on since 1996. Yet I think people in Congo have had to prove to be remarkably resilient. And yet today is a remarkable day in Eastern Congo and in Goma, which is not far from Minova, where these events took place. As for the very first time, Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the UN, has come to Goma. And also the head of the World Bank is there today. The World Bank has just announced $1 billion for the Great Lakes region. So when things look really bad for Congo, sometimes there is hope on the horizon, and people are remarkably resilient and have had to find a way to carry on living and coping with these things in the hope that maybe the world will wake up and come and assist. And it seems that perhaps this might be happening.
Resilient they need to be. Now, justice, Fiona, is vital. How likely is it that any court case that was spoken about in the film will actually go ahead?
Well, unfortunately, today it seems to be looking a little less likely than it did in February when I was there making the film. The North Kivu prosecutor who I interviewed was absolutely resolute that a trial was going to take place. But unfortunately, to date, the information I have from the ground is that nobody has actually been arrested and charged with these crimes. 12 officers have been suspended, but no date for a trial has been announced. And initially, the trial was going to be in May. So we're still waiting to see what will happen.
And one of the horrible things, Fiona, is that when trials do happen, people get convicted, they seem to be out of jail in no time.
That's right. I mean, that's what the women told me when I was talking specifically about this case. And it means it can make it very dangerous and difficult for witnesses to be brave enough to come forward, because if they think the perpetrator will be back out on the streets, who knows, they're obviously fearful for what could happen afterwards. So it's very difficult to persuade witnesses to come forward and actually believe in justice. But there seems to possibly be an impetus to really try and do something about this crime that happened in Minova last November.
What about the UN, Fiona? There is a peacekeeping force there. It begs the question, what are they doing?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's the largest peacekeeping force in the world. And there is, in fact, a new brigade, intervention brigade, that's about to arrive in Eastern Congo specifically to engage with the rebels in the hope that civilians will no longer be attacked. But, you know, we've yet to see the UN really take up the mandate that it's had. It says that in the past it hasn't had a robust enough mandate, but that's not really true. Chapter 7 does allow for the UN to protect civilians, but this hasn't really happened. And I think it's about individual leadership on the ground, and there needs to be continual pressure and highlighting these human rights abuses so that everybody, the UN, the government, international agencies, all come together to try and bring about a change in Congo.
Fiona Lloyd-Davies, thank you very much for your insight. Thank you very much for your extremely, well, difficult film to watch, but a brilliantly made piece. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Reporters. That concludes this edition. You can see it again, of course, via our website, France24.com. This is Reporters. You're watching France 24. Stay with us.